Hey, I'm Gabby, and I would like to tell you a little bit about my life. I'm 17 years old, and as of right now, I'm a senior at Central. And out of all the things that I've done in my life, I have to say, cheer was my number one favorite. It was something about being on the sidelines that made me happy. Winning or losing, it was the best feeling ever. But not only that, making other people laugh is another thing that I enjoy most. And like most people, family has got to be the most important. I live with my mom, Addie, aka the Selfie Queen, and my two brothers, Camden, well, the Flying Purple People Eater, and Anthony. Not that many people know, but my brother, Anthony, has autism.
Anthony was diagnosed with autism at the age of 18 months. Prior to that, he was a typical developing toddler. He played patty cake and peekaboo and was developing completely normally. At the age of 15 months, he was up for his MMR shots. My mom took him to the doctor and he had a fever and a cough, but they decided to give him the shot anyways.
Not knowing that this decision would not only change his life, but our lives forever.
About 3 weeks after the shot, maybe, he started to act deaf. And by acting deaf, I mean we could call his name and he wouldn't respond. We would try playing patty cake with him and he wouldn't look at us. He had a glossy-eyed look and it was like he was gone. At the same time, he could be in another room and we'd put his favorite show on the TV and he would come running across the house to see it. Or with that being said, we were faced with two options. It was either he had hearing impairment or he had a learning disability or autism. And for me, at 19 years old, the best option was deafness. So we took him to have his hearing tested, and the entire time I remember hoping and praying that he would actually be deaf. Because for me, deaf was something that could be overcome. He could get hearing aids, he could learn sign language, he could be productive. In my mind, I thought that autism was a death sentence, basically. Well, the hearing test came back and Anthony heard fine. He had no hearing impairment. So we went to see a neurologist and we were there 10 minutes and of course the diagnosis was classic autism.
A mother's worst fear happening right before her, and there was nothing she could do about it.
While I am not saying that the immunizations caused his autism, I do feel like they played some sort of a role. I knew from that moment on it was not going to be an easy road for any of us. But I never imagined that it was going to affect Gabby. I just assumed that they would develop a normal sibling relationship because they were siblings and that's just the way it was. I didn't know that this was going to be something that she was going to live with as well. Until she was about maybe somewhere between 5 and 7, and she came home and she told me, "Mom, I just want you to know that I know Anthony's different and I'm going to take care of him when he gets older so you don't have to worry about it anymore." It was from that moment that I knew I needed to do something to show her that I didn't want her to have that worry on her, that burden. It's a big load for a 7-year-old.
She was right. Anthony having autism did affect me in the way I lived my life. I was his protector. I was his caretaker. I was his second mother, even though my mom tried so hard to keep that from happening. When we were in the same school, Anthony's teachers would come to the classroom and pull me out so I could take care of him. I was there to protect him, even from things he didn't know he was being protected from.
Even
though my mom separated me and Anthony in school, I still took on the responsibility of bringing Anthony to class every day. And in the short walk from our car to his classroom, I would hear nonstop laughing about Anthony, talking about him, and they would say the meanest things. And even if he didn't know what they meant, I knew exactly what they were talking about, and that's what hurt the most.
From this experience, I learned how to pick my friends. I couldn't just have anyone come over to my house and sleep over. I had to pick people that I knew could put up with Anthony the way I did. Some of my friends have been around longer than others, but it doesn't matter how long they have been in my life. Each and every one of them have dealt with embarrassing moments with Anthony, and I couldn't thank them enough for putting up with it.
One thing I learned from Anthony was to never take anything for granted.
Usually, when children say their first words, they're about 1 to 2 years old. But with Anthony having autism, it was a whole different story. We didn't think Anthony would ever be able to talk to us. So, we began to learn sign language. But one day, the unthinkable happened.
One day, my mom was in the tub, and Anthony had pushed me, and I fell down and I started to cry. Well, we went into the bathroom, and I told my mom what happened, and my mom said, "Anthony, that wasn't very nice." And she was like, "Anthony, you should apologize to Sissy. Tell her that you're sorry. It wasn't very nice." And I remember him saying, I'm sorry, Sissy." And in that point in time, even though I was upset because he pushed me, that was the best moment in my entire life.
Every day since then, Anthony has gradually improved. We are trying to make sure that Anthony is as independent as possible. We are trying to make sure he knows he has to work for the things that he wants, like his 2 meerkats, Tulio and Sasha. Anthony makes his own money from his own business called Anthony's Awesome Wash. Not only that, but Anthony takes care of a garden, where he grows bell peppers, tomatoes, lettuce, and broccoli. He also takes care of animals, like his rabbit, Charlie, and the neighbor's chickens. Even though Anthony is different, he is a role model to his little brother. Camden sees Anthony no differently than how he sees anyone else. He only knows that Anthony is his older brother and he looks up to him. Anthony is my best friend. Even though he might constantly aggravate me with his chicken dance, I wouldn't want it any other way. Anthony is the best thing that has ever happened to me, and will forever be. We have been through hell and back with tantrums and wondering if he was ever going to speak. And the battles are never going to end, but I will always be by his side to help him through them. Autism will never go away, but Anthony having autism makes him who he is, and is perfectly okay. I will always love him because no matter what, he is my best friend, and without a doubt, I wouldn't be who I am today without him.